Hey guys, it's Paige here again with a new video. The one that I told you guys I was going to do, which was the pumpkin pie that you all want to know how I created that one. So I am going to show you how I created this fox pumpkin pie. So the first thing you're going to need is a pie pan, and then we're also going to use the tool bench hardware all-purpose caulk, which is at Dollar Tree. If you don't have a caulk gun, it's okay because they also have a squeezable tube that you'll be able to use. And because you're going to need that, you're going to have to be able to put your caulk inside of a piping bag, which you'll need a piping bag as well. So we're going to actually need a hot glue gun as well because we are going to be doing a little bit gluing today. You will also need some Waverly chalk paint, and it's going to be pumpkin. So we're going to use the pumpkin because we're making a pumpkin pie, and this Waverly pumpkin chalk paint is like the perfect color for a pumpkin pie. You don't have to add any colors to it to make it look like pumpkin pie. Once it dries, this is the color that you'll get, and it's like the perfect color for pumpkin pie. Also, for a little bit of browning around the crust that we're going to do, I use the apple barrel nutmeg, and so you'll need that, and also some King's Gold acrylic. That's also by Apple Barrel as well. And you will need, of course, a paintbrush. We're going to use a fork, and then I put down some parchment paper because I'm working on my countertops and I don't want the caulk on there or just anything that we are working with. So be sure to have down a piece of parchment paper or freezer paper because we're going to have some products today that'll be a little bit messy. So you will need, we're going to be making a salt dough, or you'll make a salt dough. I'm going to walk you through the instructions for it because I've already made mine prior to this video. So you also will need a measuring cup and scissors, and also a foam plate, just one foam plate. So let's get started. I will show you guys how I made this fox pumpkin pie. So first off, we are going to, you're going to want to paint one of your foam plates, and you're going to only paint this with your pumpkin, your Waverly chalk paint, your pumpkin color, because we are going to eventually come back to this. What I did was went ahead and painted this first because I wanted to make sure that I had the foam plate going ahead and like drying while I was preparing my salt dough mix. So I painted this. We're going to set that off to the side. After you get done painting that, just sit it off to the side and let it dry, and then we're going to prepare our salt dough. So for me to make this salt dough, I used 2 cups of flour, and then I used 1 cup of water, and I also used 1 cup of salt, and that's how I came up with the crust that I'm going to use for the edge here. So after you get done with that, mixing that all together and making sure that everything is a solid, because you're going to have all powder at first. Just mix in a little bit of water at a time to make sure that you're getting the consistency that you want. You're going to want a consistency that you're able to kind of like pull apart here, and you should be able to do this with it. It should be where you will be able to form it into whatever it is you want it to be, sort of like a clay or Play-Doh. And so that's the consistency we're going to want it at. But with the 1 cup of water, I always pour in a little bit at a time. I never pour it in all at once because then you have so much water on top, and then you have to mix it all through. It's just so much easier to just put a little bit in at a time. You may need to add a little bit more water if this feels like it's too dry and you're not able to pull it like this. It's okay to just take and pour teeny bits of water in at a time. So just knead that like a dough that you would make for making bread, or if you're making an actual pie crust, you want to make sure that you just knead it back and forth. So once you do that, you are going to take this roll it into a ball and get it all even, as even as possible. And then what I do from there is I take it and I just kind of massage it this way. We're going to keep working it in. Make sure that you have it where you're going to be able to do this with it. You want to be able to easily move it. You don't want it to be too watered down, and you don't want it to be too thick. So we're going to start making our crust. This is the fun part. So you're going to take your pie pan, and then with your dough, after you get however much you want to get started with here, you're going to take a small little bit. We're going to keep doing the same thing. It is a little bit messy, so that's okay. Make sure you have a towel or a wet towel and a dry towel on hand, or you can just wash your hands right there at the sink, whatever you want to do. So this one is going to go along the edge. You're going to pull it. It will just kind of go on its own, and that's okay. You just put it down around the sides here. Hopefully you guys can see this, but it's a really doughy substance that we're working here with, so sometimes it may get a little bit sticky. It's okay, just keep rolling it. If you move your fingers around, it will release, unless you have it too thin, which we don't want, because that means it's going to be really sticky and it will be hard to work with. So let's just keep working that around here. And you can take your plate as you go. Just take your plate and twist it. And you can break this. Mine was starting to get a little bit thin. So what I'm going to do is just take some that I was just working with, and I'm going to add to that. We're going to also, one sec, we're going to form this back. I will show you guys how to fix this, because some of you guys are probably wondering like, how are we going to fix it now that we've broken the dough? It's okay. There's an easy way to fix that. And I'm going to show you guys how to do that. So take some more of your dough. Do the exact same thing in your palm of your hand. Just kind of roll it around so that you can form it and make it more solid. There we go. And then stretch it out again. Take it and stretch it out, and then start right where you finished. Just keep on going around the edge until you have no more left to go. And then I'm going to show you guys how to flatten this and form it into the crust. But just make sure you're keeping an eye on your dough in the process, because it may try to fall over the edge. So we're going to try to keep this formed along the side as much as possible. I'm going to take another piece. I'm going to continue on where we left off. Let's just put that around here. And then there we go. I think this might be as much as we need here for this. We might have to add on as we go. And like I said, that's okay too, because we want to make sure that it's even. So we don't want it to be really thick in some places and really thin in other places, because then you'll have to go through and have to redo your whole crust, because you're going to have some parts thicker than others. Or you could always cut it off too, whichever one's easiest for you. But I find that it's easier if I try to make the thickness of it as even around as possible. And you guys can see that I'm also adding in some dough in certain places that I feel like are a little bit more sparse than others. So sorry if you guys can hear the wind. We're having a really windy day here in Minnesota, and I think my umbrella on my porch, my patio, may have just fallen down. So okay, so I am going to wipe my hands with a wet towel here. Try to clean some of this off so we can work with it a little bit easier. This can get pretty messy, so make sure you keep a towel on hand Want a wet towel and a dry towel on hand at all times during this project. Take a napkin and get it dry. If your hands are wet and you touch the dough, it's going to be sticky again. So this is the part where we're going to fix the crust. This is what mine looks like so far. It's just around the edges. I'm not gonna fill this in because we don't need to waste the salt dough. Not to mention salt dough, if you fill this whole pan in, it's gonna be really heavy. And if you're mailing this out to someone, you don't wanna have to spend that extra shipping cost on mailing out a super heavy salt dough pie. So we're gonna put this around the edges so that we can try to make this as lightweight as possible. But we are going to put a little bit in the center of this before we get done because you're going to bake this. And so when you bake it, you'll just bake that right here in the center of your tray, and just make sure that you don't have it along the edges, because if it's along the edges, then you're going to get it stuck to your crust, and you may need to try to see if you can take that apart, and you don't want it to mend together. So what I'm doing right now to fix the parts that I had to create in order to add those extra pieces of dough on, I'm using a little bit of water that I have left over in my cup here, so my measuring cup. So what you're gonna do is take just a little bit of water only on the parts that have either a crack in the dough or parts that may look uneven. Those areas where it is going to connect is going to be the parts where you want to make sure that you have those kind of evened out, because otherwise you can see really good where those connect. So I'm going to put this up to the camera so that you guys can see what I'm talking about. I'll show you a side-by-side comparison of what I mean. So let's see if I can get close enough. On this side, you can kind of see where it has these cracks here. There's one there, and even right here. But if you look right here where I have the water added to, and also we can mold this too, so the water is good for that. But if you see the top part, now that's smooth. So you want it to look like that. Where you have the shine is where I added the water. On this side, I haven't done that yet, so you can clearly see what part has not been done. We want to fix that because we want to make sure our pie is as flat as possible. That crust part of the pie is as flat as possible, because we're gonna eventually do the design that we need in order to make this crust look. So make sure you do that along the edge before you do anything else. Also, don't worry about the extra pieces that are here along the bottom. We can fix that, not unless you don't mind having that little lip kind of out on the side, which some pies do. So whatever you feel comfortable with, just do that. But make sure that you push this down too as you go, because we want this dough to adhere to the pan as well, so that we'll be able to keep it on there and work with it later once we start doing our top. So this is really easy, guys. It's a really easy project to do, and it's a fun project to do. If you like making pies, box pies, fake pies, fake bakes, whatever you call them, this is the way to go. Also, kids like doing this too. If you have kids that you like to bake with, if they just want to help you make this, it'll be a fun project for them to do with you too. So I'm going to take another little piece here and add that on, and then we are going to be done. And I'm going to show you guys next how to make the design that we need along the edge of the pie here. Really simple, really simple. So first, before we do that, take your fork and any extra pieces that are along the inside, like right here where I have a little bit of extra dough. You can see where it's really thick. Just take your fork and cut along that side. Just cut along the inside. Grab your extra dough and keep that. You can use that for another project. Just go along the whole inside part and get any extra dough that seems to be seeping inside of the pan. Just take all of that out because you're going to need that inside part of the pan for when we put our top on. So also you can go along the edges and just use the fork to kind of straighten that out. The fork is really good for that too. If you tear it like I just did, I did just take off a piece that I didn't want. Just take your water, dip it, and then you just tap that on there. Make sure your crust is pushed back down. And then we are going to continue. Got a few little pieces that are trying to come off on their own. So any extra that's falling off the side, just take them off. Put them inside of your bucket or your container, whatever you're using to store your dough. Just put it inside of there. I just use a container. So the two cups of flour, the 1 cup of salt, and the 1 cup of water made this much. So I'm not sure how big this container is. I don't know. But if you can see the size of my hand to the container, it doesn't take a huge container. So that's about how much it'll make. And so we are going to just go along the side. Just make sure we get all the extra dough off. And cut along there. Just keep on going along the side. Take your fork and just form your dough right back up to the plate. Once you get done doing all of that, you are going to take your fork that you're using to do the forming of the dough. We're going to take that in. Oops, wait, let's get this one little piece here that seems to kind of be drooping down a little bit. I'm going to take a little bit more of that off. Then I'll show you guys how to make the design in the pie. Actually, it's different ways you can do your pie crust. So whatever you feel comfortable with, however you want your pie crust to be, you make it like that. There's so many different ways to make a design in a pie crust. I'm going to do mine with the fork where you just kind of push it down along the side. So now that I have the inside of the pie all taken care of, as well as the crust formed to the pan the way that I want it, I'm going to just turn this fork upside down just like that. Then along the edges, you're just going to push down on there. You're going to push down, and then this will make the grooves that you need for the pie. See that? So you just keep taking it. We're going to just keep pushing down on it. Just keep pushing down and making those grooves all the way around the entire pie. So the lines are going to look like that in the pie that I'm using. Don't forget, while you're going around, continue to form your dough as you go around, because you want it to be exactly how you want it as a finished product. So again, take the fork, just push down, okay? And then you'll have your grooves. There we go. So we're gonna continue to do that. Just continue to do that all the way around, okay? Actually, you know what? Let's change that. Don't put it upside down. Let's do it this way. Not unless you're gonna hold it. If you're gonna hold it, it'll be easier to go upside down. It is gonna be hard because the pan has no weight, hardly any weight to it, because it's empty. So I'm gonna sit mine down. So what I'm gonna do is just take the fork. I'm not gonna do it upside down since I'm not gonna hold it. I'm gonna put mine down. So I'm gonna reverse that fork. And then I'm going to just hold the inside of my pan. I think this will be an easier way for me to do it on camera. If I was off camera, maybe I will hold the plate and just do it that way. But since I'm on camera showing you guys, I'm gonna just sit this down and hold it with my hand and continue to just go along the entire edge of this pie. And then this will also help to adhere this to the pan too, along with the pushing that we did a little bit earlier to make sure that this pie crust stays on here while it's in the oven. So just continue to go around until you have no more left to go. Don't forget to put your top back on your salt dough while you do this if you're done with your salt dough for now, because it dries out really quickly. So just be sure to keep that stored in a container. I made my salt dough last night. I like to use it within a couple days, so it lasts for quite some time. I don't store it in the refrigerator, guys. I like to just keep mine out because I use it, you know, pretty quickly. I'm not sure on the instructions on storing it any longer than that because I never have. I've only used mine within a couple day period. So if you think you're going to have your dough and use it for any more than a few days, look up some instructions on how to store that without it drying, or I don't know what happened to it if you just leave it out for that many days. So just try to figure out what to do with that, because I leave mine in this container for like 2-3 days at a time and it's perfectly fine, but I've never gone any longer than that. So now we're going to take just a couple small little pieces of our salt dough. Now that we're done, I'll show you guys what this looks like. So this is what the pie looks like going all the way around. I just finished it all the way around. And so after you get done with that, just take a small piece of your dough. We're gonna add some weight to this because we don't want this to be like super light. You don't have to. I just like a little bit of weight to mine. It makes it feel a little bit more realistic. So I just take it and kind of make it like the size of a cookie maybe, and it doesn't have to be perfect. This is literally just going to be used for weight. So we're just going to sit that down in the bottom and take another little small piece, do the same thing, just roll it around in the palm of your hand. You can even smash it, maybe that might work too, a little bit better for you. And then we're going to just spread it out and then put it right down in the bottom of your pan. So this is what mine looks like. It doesn't have to be pretty. No one's going to see this. We're literally just making this for weight so that we can have a little bit more weight to the pie. So after you get done with that, you are going to turn your oven on to 425. So I have mine on 425 degrees, and I set my crust in for 10 minutes. And I'll show you guys why I left such a small amount of crust in there for that period of time, because I see a lot of the YouTube videos that have it where we do our own colors for paints and things, but I did a little bit of an experiment last night and it actually turned out pretty good. So I'm going to take a shortcut with this so that I can show you guys how to do your crust without having to put like so much paint on it. So let me show you guys what I came up with. After mine was done, it actually had this brown color to it. And so usually what I've been doing with my pies, you can see the difference in the color between that one and this one. This one is the one that I painted, but this one came out with the brown edges already. So I think I'm gonna just keep this one like that because it actually looks like a pie, so the actual real pie. So I'm gonna keep that one just like that. I'm not going to change the color of it. We're gonna do that just as is because I think it looks really realistic this way. So we're gonna take the top that we painted earlier. We're going to take that and your glue gun, your hot glue gun, and just go, wait, there's one other thing, I'm sorry guys. Before you do that, in order for this to sit on here properly how we need it to, take your edge of your foam plate and just cut that lip off. You want to cut the lip of the plate off. You'll see it wherever the lip of your plate stops. This is a great value Walmart plate. So where mine stopped is where I started to do the cut. On these plates, it has like a design that kind of goes around here. the entire edge. I just cut right up to where that design was. So you can do the same thing. That way, when you hot glue, it will fit right on top. Not unless you want it to go along the edges, which I don't. I want mine to fit as much as possible without without falling inside of the pan. So take your hot glue gun and just go right along the edge of your crust here. Just go right along the edge here, right along the inside part of that. You're gonna take that and just go right along there. Put hot glue all along the inside of the pan. Or I'm sorry, not the inside of the pan, the inside of the crust, where the crust stops here. That is where we want to put our hot glue, because we are going to just sit that plate right on top of here. So make sure you get it all the way around. If you miss some spots, you can go back over it and just fill that in. So let's sit this down. We're gonna sit our hot glue down, and then we're going to take your plate and then just sit it right on top of that, right on top of the crust where you want it. Make sure you don't press down until you have it completely in the center where you want it to be. So mine looks like this. I just have it right on top. It doesn't have to be pretty along the edges here. I didn't make mine really pretty along the edges because I'm gonna cover that with whipped topping. So in order to get that down completely, just take your hot glue gun, go right along the edge here where the foam plate meets the pie crust, and just go along here with hot glue, just for a little added protection and make sure that it stays on there. When we add the caulking, it'll adhere to the pie crust more, but I like that extra caution to just make sure that this is not going to fall off of here. It's a foam plate, so it's pretty easy to put this on here and actually make it stay. It doesn't take a whole lot of hot glue, but I just like to make sure that mine is filled in completely. So we are going to continue to go along the edge here, just like so. Just go right along the entire pie, the crust and the filling, to make sure that it is completely covered all the way around the entire circumference of the pie. So you're gonna have a few little glue strings. Just take those off. I'm gonna take those off of here so we don't have any glue strings hanging on our project. Just go around your entire pie, take those off. So after we get done doing that, oh, there's a couple more. After we get done doing that, we're gonna go on to the next step, which is going to be your Mod Podge. I forgot to tell you guys that we will use some Mod Podge for this as well. We'll let this dry, and then we are going to just hold that on there for a second, just to make sure. You can even wave it a little bit so that you can make sure that it cools completely before we put the caulking on there. Put that over here to the side. So, all right. Okay, guys, I'm gonna set a few things off to the side here so we have a little bit more room. You know, I'm going to actually wait to do the Mod Podge. We are going to start with our caulking, our whip topping. So you take your piping bag, and with the all-purpose caulk that we're using, you just fill your bag up, and then once you get done filling your bag up, I put that entire container in there plus a little bit of another one that I had. So you're going to put that in there. Make sure you hold this at the top and squeeze down on it, and then you're going to just turn it until you start to see some of the whip topping coming out at the bottom. So then, now that this is dry, we can go along the side here, and you're going to just squeeze your bag and then pull up. Oops. Sorry guys, this one I don't know why it's not behaving. Let's try that again. We're going to go along the side. There we go. I had to get that first one out. So you just keep going around. You're just gonna squeeze, push down on it, and then pull up. Squeeze, push down, and pull up. So we're gonna do that all the way around. Just squeeze, push down, and then pull up. So this is gonna be our whip topping dollops that are gonna go all the way around. Just keep squeezing until you have it exactly how you want all the way around. We want to make sure that we cover as much of that hot glue as possible, which shouldn't be hard because there's only one line of it on here. So we're just going to keep going all the way around. This is really easy to form. So you just make sure you push down and pull up. Squeeze, you push down, and you pull up. And do that all the way around, just like so. Let's turn that around. I'm gonna start back on this side and go all the way around to the other side. That first one gave me a little bit of hard time, but now it's starting to behave. We're just gonna keep doing this all the way around. And see, you'll have your dollops. Some of them might seem like they're falling over, which is okay because with caulk, I found that I can kind of manipulate it a little bit. So if they start to fall over, I can just take the tip of this bag and fix them back up. So that will be perfectly fine. So I'm going to go back around, and there's going to be a few of them on mine that I'd like to fix. So I'm going to go back here and just squeeze another dollop on there. And then with this, you can just pull it right back up. You can take the tip of the bag with a little bit of caulk still left on it and just lift that right up. So set this off to the side a second. So this is what it looks like going all the way around. I just caulked it all the way around. And so there's my whipped dollops of whipped cream that are going around. And so now, in order to get my center, the center that I have on here, I am going to just take that same piping bag, guys, and then I'm going to just go around in the center and just put it in a circle, exactly how we squeezed it out the first time, but this time you're just gonna go all the way around it. And then if you want it to be a little higher up, you can just go along the top, and then when you get to the top, squeeze it, do that same dollop, that same concept that we used when we were doing the edges. So then you'll have something that looks like that. So that is how we came up with the pumpkin pie. So I'm not gonna do the cinnamon on this one just yet because I have to let that one dry, but I'll tell you guys what to do. So to finish off this pie, and in order to have it look like this one, what you're gonna do is wait about 24 hours or less. It doesn't have to be a full 24 hours. In order to have it completely firm though, I would wait 24 hours. Just take Mod Podge and go along the entire top part of your pie as well along the sides. If you want cinnamon on your whipped topping, I did. I wanted to put cinnamon along my entire pie. So what I did was I took Mod Podge, I went along this entire pie, including the whipped topping. And then with the Mod Podge, you're just gonna spread that over. You may have to do it in sections because it dries really, really quickly. One thing I forgot to tell you all that we will need is some ground cinnamon. I just got some cinnamon from Walmart. You can use whatever cinnamon you have in your kitchen, but I took this cinnamon and I literally just went along the whole top part of the pie until I got the desired amount of cinnamon that I wanted. So that's pretty much it. As far as the paint that I used for this pie, I ended up mixing the nutmeg with the King's Gold, and with that I ended up with this color. It's like a mixture of the two. It's more of the King's Gold. I just pretty much added the brown in and then added as much of the King's Gold as I wanted, and I got this tan color. So if you have another way you can come up with the color that you want, if you don't like the color of that one, then that would be good too. But once I got done with that, in order to get this more brown texture or color that I have on here, I took some of the nutmeg, the apple barrel nutmeg, and I took my brush, and what I did was just put a little bit of the nutmeg on my either a foam plate or whatever you use for your paint palette. I just took my dry brush, no water, no anything, just use a dry brush, dip it in, and then what you're going to do is just scrub it along your paper, and then go around the edges lightly until you get the desired brown color that you want around your edges. You can do it that way too. So however you feel is the most comfortable way for you to do it is how we're going to make this pie, and to be the color that we want. Everyone likes a different color. I wanted a more brown color to this to make it look a bit more done, but when I experimented with the salt dough, it already came with this brown color once I took it out of the oven. So I'm gonna keep this one just like it is. But yeah, this is our finished pie. So for you guys who wanted to know how I made that, this is how I made it, and hopefully this video is a helpful one for you guys so that you can start making your fake pumpkin pies or sweet potato pies. And yeah, until then, until next time, I will see you guys, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you guys soon. Bye.